Right, thank you, members. Just like to welcome everybody to the meeting of the Executive of the 5th of August 2020. Over to you, Steve.
Yes, this meeting is being held under the recent government regulations brought in to allow for remote meetings to take place and to allow for decisions to be made. Hopefully those present will hear the meeting. However, in the event of a technical failure, the leader will adjourn the meeting and set a new time to reinstate the meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. A copy of the recording will be available on the Council's YouTube channel in the next few days. All members of the committee should have their video on, but will remain muted until invited to speak. If you wish to attract the leader's attention, please make use of the instant messaging function. All members of the press and public will remain muted unless they have registered to speak, and the leader will let them know when they can make their representation. The format of the meeting will be as per the agenda published. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, I'm now going to ask each of the councillors present, the executive, to start with, to introduce themselves and confirm they can see and hear me before we start the business of the committee. And I'll start with Councillor Slocum.
Good morning, Leader. Good morning, officers. I'm Councillor Jill Slocum. I'm the portfolio holder for Inward Investment and Growth, and I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Councillor Mike Caswell.
Good morning, everybody. It's Councillor Mike Caswell. Infrastructure and transport is my portfolio, and I can see and hear everything.
Councillor Lance Duddridge.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Councillor Lance Duddridge, portfolio holder for customer access and digital delivery, and I can see and hear everything perfectly well.
Thank you. Councillor Andrew Gilling.
Thank you, Leader. My name is Councillor Andrew Gilling. I'm portfolio holder for housing.
Thank you.
I can hear and see and everything.
Oh, brilliant. Sorry. Councillor Mark Healy.
Mark, come back. Where are you?
Okay, well, we'll skip and we'll come back to Mark. Councillor Janet Keane.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Janet Keane. My portfolio is Communities and Wellbeing. I confirm that I can hear and see the leader and other colleagues.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Healy, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, yep. Thank you. Yeah. I'm the current portfolio holder for commercial and asset management, and I can confirm I can hear and see everything that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, and I can confirm I'm leader of council, and I can see and hear myself as well. Right, we just go around the officers. We'll start with the Chief Exec.
Good morning, everybody. It's Alison Griffin, Chief Executive, and I can confirm I can see and hear all of you fine. Thank you.
Thank you. And Doug Bamsey, Mr. Bamsey.
Hello there, good morning. I'm Strategic Director Doug Bamsey. I can confirm I can hear and see.
Bob Brown.
Good morning, Leader. I'm Bob Brown. I'm the Strategic Director, and I can confirm that I can see and hear everything.
Right. I'll now ask other officers, and if they have other people with them, if they could perhaps introduce them as well, the report authors, or to be included. Mrs. Turner.
Thank you, Leader. Good morning, everybody. I'm Alison Turner, Assistant Director for Finance and Property and Council Section 151 Officer. I can confirm I can see and hear everything. I've got 3 officers with me today. It's my group's executive today, I think. So we've got Sarah Haste, who will be presenting the carry forward report, Janet Pascoe, who will be introducing along with me the outturn report, and Tim Mander, who will be introducing item 7, the shared ownership lease renewal report. Thank you.
Thank you. And Melanie Wellman.
Thank you. Melanie Wellman, Legal Advisor to the Executive and Monitoring Officer, and I can see and hear everything. Thank you, Leader.
And with us today we have Layla Nicholson.
Good morning, Leader. I'm Layla Nicholson. I'm Committee Manager. I'm just assisting Steve Taylor today.
Talking of which, Mr. Taylor.
Good morning, Leader. I'm Steve Taylor, Committee Manager of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And Claire Fawn, I noticed. Sorry.
Hello, Claire Fawn, Corporate Relations Manager.
Thank you. And we're also joined today by Councillor Filmer, Councillor Revens, Councillor Smedley, and I think that's it. Good. Okay, Steve?
Yes, Leader.
Right, thank you. Right, we'll start the agenda for today, which are apologies for absence.
We have no apologies, Leader.
Declarations of interest, item 2. No declarations of interest. Urgent business, I have none. Agenda item 4, public speaking time. We have nobody registered to speak. And of course, I will allow council members to speak as the items come forward. Then we go on to agenda item 5, which is the carry forward request report. And that is my report. Members will have seen the report before them and the request for those items to carry forward. Whilst we have had a reasonably good year, a number of things need to be carried forward, and they are before you today. Sarah Haste.
Thank you, Leader. I don't have very much to add to the report. The individual bids for your interest are in Appendix B, which are pages 8 to 11 of the report. There are 5 general fund revenue bids to approve, with an adjustment to one that was approved at TaxSet. There's 1 housing revenue bid to approve, which falls outside the policy because it's been previously carried forward. So that would be a recommendation from yourselves to council. Then on the general fund capital, there's an adjustment to 1 bid that was approved at TaxSet. There are 5 new bids. 2 bids again that fall outside of the policy, same reason, same recommendation to council if you approve. And then housing capital, there are 2 new bids and 5 that fall outside of the policy. Happy to take any questions, but hopefully the report is self-explanatory.
Thank you. Members of council, any comments or questions on the report or the requests for carry forwards? Okay, then, members of the executive, Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. I just really wanted to say that to thank the members of staff. Really, we've been in difficult times, and they've managed to keep us all going. And with these bid revenue, the general fund, and the adjustments and things like that. So I just wanted to say, really to thank them really for a great job they've done. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other members of the executive wish to make any comment, or are you happy with the recommendations with the ones to council included, A to G? No questions? Oh, we've got 2 coming in. Councillor Healy, do you want to? No. Well, the recommendation.
No, thank you. No, I was just saying I'm happy with what's been going on, and fully support what Sarah said.
Right, thank you. Recommendations have been moved. I'll second. We'll now go around the table, either in favour or against, please. And I'll start with myself. Duncan McGinty, Leader of Council. I've heard everything. Thank you very much, Sarah. And I support the recommendations. Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. Deputy Leader, and I fully support the recommendations, seen and heard them all, and thank you very much.
Councillor Caswell.
Good morning, Leader. Yeah, again. Yes, seen and heard all the reports, read the report, and I'm in favour.
Thank you, Councillor Doddridge.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, seen the presentation, read the reports, and I'm in favour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gilling.
Thank you, Leader. Sorry, losing my voice again. I've seen and heard everything, and I'm in favour of the report and support the proposals.
Thank you very much. Councillor Healy.
Yeah, as said to before, I'm fully supportive of the motion. Seen and heard all the observations by everybody, and I'm happy to agree with it.
Thank you, and Councillor Keane.
Thank you, Leader. I have read the reports and heard all the presentations from the officers, and I agree with the recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Clearly carried, Leader, unanimously.
Thank you very much. Would it be possible just to have sight of Councillor Mark Healy so that we know it is him and not a cardboard cutout behind the picture? Just to confirm that. I wouldn't want us to be challenged in any way, shape or form. Is that possible, Mark?
Mark, are you on mute? You're muted, Mark.
It is a cardboard cutout.
Yeah. Can you see me now?
Yes.
No.
No,
Sorry.
I can hear you.
No, sorry, Duncan. You may not want to see me, but I'm here. And I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on here, why you can't see me.
Okay, well, maybe Mr. Taylor might be. Oh, there you are.
Oh,
good.
Better now, yeah.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, that's a relief. Good. Right. Moving on then to agenda item 6, which is the outturn report. As previously mentioned by the Deputy Leader, it's been a tricky year and it's no mean feat to have an outturn report at this time. And I think members will agree it's a fairly good tone to the report financially wise, but let's not forget we are still in the middle of a pandemic situation. A number of financial issues won't come home to roost until the next financial year. So let's not go too mad in the future with the medium term business cases. Okay, over to you, Mrs. Turner.
Thank you, Leader. Can everybody hear me okay?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I haven't got a lot to add to the report. I think this report is self-explanatory. But just to say, this is an item for note. We've worked really hard to get to an outturn position, which has been difficult in the current circumstances. These are obviously pre-audit because we still need to be audited. All of the time, as said in the report, all of the timescales have moved on this year compared to the normal statutory timescales. So the statement of accounts have to be signed off by me by the end of August, which we're on track to do, and they have to be audited and signed off by the members of Audit and Standards by the end of November, and we're on schedule to do that as well. So the figures shouldn't, the outturn figures shouldn't change significantly, but they, just to caveat them, that they are pre-audit figures. In terms of the general fund, we're looking before carry forwards, clearly they've been agreed now, of a underspend of 770,000. The carry forwards have now, the revenue carry forwards have been approved in the previous report, so we're looking at an actual of approximately 470,000. So basically our balances are higher in next year than we anticipated by about 470,000, which is a positive position to be in, particularly with the impact of the recent COVID pandemic. But the majority of the reason for that underspend isn't because of projects not being delivered. It's due to additional income, the majority of it. So again, that's not concerning. Section 5 of this report, I've just put a section in here about year-end balances. What we've actually done, as you know, for many years now, we've used the managed use of balances approach to make sure that we can deliver a balanced budget over the 5 years. And what we've done is actually split out now the general fund balance to the the managed use of balances reserve. So we've put the surplus above the 1.5 million that we operate in with into a specific reserve. So we've got, as you see on page 3, section 5.2, we've got just under 7 million in that pot to help with balancing the 5-year budget. Clearly, all of our figures need to be recast as part of the initial medium-term plan, which is what we're doing now, because as stated in section 5.3, like every council in the country, we have had a significant financial impact because of the current situation. We've just revised the COVID figures again, and we're looking at a net impact of about 4 million now with after government funding, which is significant, but is manageable with the balances that we've got. But this will have an impact on our 5-year position. The detail of the general fund is very detailed in Appendix A, and I'm sure you've had a chance to look at that. The next section is housing revenue account, so I'll pass over to Janet to just update you on the reasons for the variations with the housing revenue account. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet Pascoe, please.
Thank you. Yes, for the housing revenue account, just a quick recap, we've got just over 4,000 properties and the HRA's ring fence. For last year, we had a provisional deficit of just over 2 million, which was better than we were anticipating, but the reasons for that are really straightforward. It's mainly because there's been quite a lot of slippage on the capital programme, and the previous report presented to the executive talked about carry forwards. So all of those are detailed within that particular report. So at the year end, balances for the housing revenue account total well over £13 million. Whilst that's a lot higher than the annual minimum balance for the housing revenue account, members need to be mindful of the fact that this needs to be considered alongside the 30-year housing revenue account business plan, and we'll be revising that later on in the year, and that will be presented to members. So yes, there is an underspend, but as I said, the reasons are straightforward. It's mainly because of capital carry forwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just ask there, Melanie, perhaps, do members of the Homes in Sedgemoor Board need to declare anything during the consideration of that bit or not?
It might be worth those members declaring a personal only interest, leader, so they're still able to take part.
Thank you. Do I have any declarations then, please?
Yes, leader. Myself, Janet Keane. I'm a member of the board of Homes in Sedgemoor, and I don't believe this would in any way influence any other decision making. I'm here with a completely open mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Duddridge. Yeah, as with Councillor Keane, purely a personal interest, and I'm here looking at this report with an open mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? That's good. Right, thank you. Members of Council, any comments or questions on the report? No, then I'll go to the exec members. Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. I would just like to say to Mrs. Turner and her team to thank them very much. This has been what with the business rates and dealing with the business support and everything else. I think that they've done a tremendous job. And I would like to say this, and I mean this sincerely. I bet there's many councils larger than ours that would love to look at figures like this. And that is me. I heard that, Mark. That is how I feel. I think this is tremendous figures, and I would like to thank you very, very much for your team. I know how busy you've been because I often spend a bit of time with you, Mrs. Turner, and I know that you have, and the hours you've been working. So I haven't been able to, but I thank you for this, and thank you all very much. And the leader, of course, because I know this is your portfolio. Thank you.
I second what you've said, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, please.
Councillor Keane? Yeah, go.
It's a question for Alison. I know it's early times, but do we have any early warnings of shortfall in income from people's council tax as a result of the financial difficulties that our situation is in?
Thank you. We have done some estimates in terms of what we think the impact's likely to be. It is really difficult at the moment because we've let a lot of people have contacted us and we've made arrangements. So quite often council tax is paid over 10 months, starting in April, and we've moved on quite a lot of payments to start in June, so it's still 10 months. So we're still assessing the impact, but we have made an estimate of it likely being an impact of about 3% on our collection rate, but I think the bigger impact is going to be on our tax base in next year, because we won't have the increase in the tax base. I don't think that we would have estimated. So I think that the impact in terms of council tax and business rates will be seen in next year and probably the following year rather than the current year. But it is quite difficult to assess at this moment accurately.
Thank you very much for that.
And when you're referring to tax base, you mean the number of properties that are liable for council tax, or the increase in the number of properties is likely to be lower than anticipated? Is that right?
Yeah. The increase in the number of properties, because of obviously the build programme is well, not stopped, but certainly slowed down significantly. So our growth predictions are likely to be lower in next year than we anticipated, and also the number of council tax support claimants affects our tax base, and that's likely to be higher again in next year, which has a negative impact. So yeah, we are, and also the collection rate will have an impact. So we are expecting the tax base to be hit next year.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the executive wish to raise any points or ask any questions?
Yeah, please, if I may.
Councillor Healy.
Thank you very much. Delighted to hear that, Alison. It's all good news. What I'd like to know, if you don't mind telling me, is, of course, we've got the refurb of Bridgewater House going on, haven't we? Is that coming out on budget, or do we need to reassess things?
At the moment, we've got a budget in place to do the refurb and 2 of the floors to the Agile standard. So that is on budget. If we want to carry on and do the rest of the floors to the Agile format, which will be dependent on the pilot, then we would need to come back and ask for additional budget, which was always agreed at the time.
So for me, through you, Duncan, if you don't mind, because of COVID-19, etc., and the fact, we've got people working from home, and I think the whole thing has now changed, as it has through public service. Are we looking at maybe not continuing what we're doing, and possibly work, boxing clever and actually saying to ourselves, could we let some of the space of Bridgewater House out?
I don't know whether Mr. Brown would like to come in on that point at all. Chief Exec?
Yes, I mean, obviously that's something that we've been considering over recent weeks. I mean, we are progressing with the refurbishment, but certainly as part of the internal recovery and generally thinking forward as to how the organisation will look in the future, we are considering usage of space. At this point in time, we're not entirely certain on how the social distancing rules or advice will vary, but certainly we are assessing everything that we've been learning over the last 4 months and how we would project that into the future as to how we might use Bridgewater House. And I've certainly also had discussions with Peter Hatch with Homes in Sedgemoor. They're equally looking at their space. So I think all those things are live issues for us, and it may well be that in the future, if we have less staff working full-time in the office, that we can reshape how people work. Certainly we've got the agile workspaces coming forward, which members will be aware of, and that may well mean that we can rent out space to other businesses, maybe share with some of our partners, maybe some of the charitable organisations that we work with, and I'm sure that will be taken into account when we look at reception as well.
Okay, thank you. And I should, well, whilst it's a slight digression from the actual report, it's important to have that thought and discussion around it. But as I say, as has been said, it's under constant review. One of the concerns I have with perhaps not using as much space and not needing as much space, other businesses are in similar situations, and they may well not need the space either. So the office rental market may well in fact be a difficult market to enter into, but you know, it's constantly kept under review. Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. You sort of stole a little bit of my thunder there, because I was thinking that there's many other businesses that are just in the same point as us, really. And but I would be really mindful of not doing anything in this time. We don't know how long this is going to go on. If we can have our members of staff that need to be in the building, at least at the moment we have enough space for them to be socially distancing safely. And I think this is definitely not the time to look at this. I think there would be plenty of time for us to review after, because as you say, there are other businesses exactly the same way as we are. But I would love to think that our staff can be in there safe. If they have to be in that building, then I want them to have enough space to be able to socially distance. Their safety is paramount.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brown, I see you flipped out and came back. Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Sorry, Leader, I missed part of that because my system crashed and I've just come back in. In terms of the Agile project space, I think it's just worth noting that one of the things that we've amended the project to cater for COVID lessons and all of those sort of things. And I think it's important that we carry on with that, because what we're going to need to do is ensure that any space that we've got is fit for the new business as usual. So that's being built into the process now. So going ahead with it, I think is an important step to take, so that we can learn the lessons and make sure that the workspace that we've got is fit for the future.
Right, thank you. Good. If there's no more questions or comments, the report is for note and subject to audit. Are we happy to note the report?
So moved, Leader.
Right, it's been moved. I'll second, and we'll just go round. Duncan McGinty, Leader of Council. I'm happy to note the report. Councillor Slocum.
Councillor Slocum, Deputy Leader, happy to note the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Yes, Leader, I'm happy to note the report.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Happy to note the report.
Thank you. Councillor Gilling.
Yes, Leader, I'm more than happy to note the report and support it.
Thank you. Councillor Healy.
Yeah, happy to support that, totally.
Thank you. Councillor Keane.
Thank you. Yes, I have read and noted and will remember this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hellard.
Leader, yes, the report is duly noted.
Thank you. Right. Moving on then to the next item on the agenda, one that's unusual, to say the least, and certainly of great interest to me when I first read it. Thank you. Councillor Gilling.
Thank you, Leader. I shan't take much of your time in introducing this one, but I think it's more important that we are aware of the executive summary, and I will defer straight away to the reporting officer, Mr. Mander, if he might be able to fill in the details and answer the questions that are posed. It's far too technical for my simple brain to accommodate.
Thank you. Mr. Mander, what an introduction.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Eden. And actually, I do need to say that actually the main report author was my colleague Michelle Betts, who's actually on annual leave today. So, but I was party to writing part of it, so I'm happy to present it. But Michelle put a lot of work into this one, and I appreciate everything she's done in terms of contributing to what is a slightly technical issue, which is really sort of raised its head in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, because The shared ownership properties we own, there's 68, which are largely in rural locations where they have what's known as no staircasing, i.e. they're currently 50-50. We own 100%. The shared owners have a long lease of the other 50%, and they pay rent on the other 50% to us. And the problem is that these were largely built in the late 80s, early 90s, with some 125-year leases, some 99-year leases, and the lease terms are running down, and which makes it more difficult for people who want to move on to sell and people who want to move in to buy. So we've had requests received, as I said, over the last 12 months, which two aspects. One is wishing to extend the period of the lease, which fits in with recommendations from the Homes and Community Agency and the Minister for Communities and Local Government, both of whom support having this lease extension. And also the other issue relates to the mortgage protection clause, which more and more lenders wish to have in the lease to give them a degree of protection when lending on these properties. So really, we're just sort of trying to bring this report together, which, with the support of the executive, will bring us into the 21st century in terms of our leases and the ability to extend the lease as the lease term gradually reduces, and also to give potential lenders a bit of knowledge that there is a support from the local authority or the owner should the current mortgage holders default at all. So, I mean, that's the background to it. Happy to answer any questions in terms of the detail. It's all in the report. The recommendation is quite clear in terms of authorising us to adopt the lease extension policy, which is attached to the report, and also to delegate authority to the Law and Governance Monitoring Officer and the Assistant Director of Finance and Property to agree variation to leases to incorporate a mortgage protection clause. Hopefully, if the executive approves or agrees to the recommendations, it will make it easier for people to move in and out of shared ownership, of the 68 shared ownership properties that we've currently got affected by this clause.
Thank you. So in effect, it's bringing in line with current thinking and other properties of a similar nature, not necessarily owned by local authorities.
Yeah, obviously the shared ownership, there's a lot of RSLs who own shared ownership, probably more so than actual councils at the moment. And, it's bringing it into line with their current policies. So I think at the moment, there's only one lender who actively lends on shared ownership, and that's the Nationwide. And clearly, therefore, that is very limiting for people who want to either sell or buy into it.
Great, thank you. Very good. Right, any members of council wish to make comment or ask questions?
Yeah, if I may, through you.
If you hang on one second, I'm just taking members of the council, Mark. I'll just.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yeah. Then I'll come to exec members.
No, thank you.
No, okay. Brian. Okay, thanks, Brian. Right then, I'll go down the list of exec members. I've got quite a few here. Councillor Slocum.
Thank you, Leader. I'm really sorry. I've read this report and it's probably obvious, and I apologise I don't get it. But why does it disadvantage people with a shorter lease with a shared ownership? I'm not absolutely certain why.
Well, look, as a lease term runs down, it makes it. It's down to the length. You wonder. It's a good question, because obviously you think you've got 80 years left on a term that is long enough, but there's just a reluctance, I guess, for lenders to lend on a reducing lease term when it drops below 80 years, its value. I mean, if we agree to it, there is a process to extend the lease, and there will be a payment required to be made, a premium for the applicant who wishes to get an extension of the lease terms. Now, obviously, the smaller the term left, the higher that premium will be. But off the top of my head, I think roughly we're looking at about, if you're on 80 years and you want to extend it by another 20 or 30, then it's probably going to cost about £1,000. But if you drop to, say, 60 years left of that term, then that payment will be substantially more. And the longer you leave it, the more that payment will be.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, in effect, not only does the lender not wish to lend you to purchase when you find it difficult to sell, it generally lowers the price of the property with a shorter lease. So, and leasehold properties are, used to be mainly flats and things of that, apartments of that nature. So the shorter the lease, the lower value, the more difficulty it is in obtaining the money to purchase or to sell.
Leader, so what effectively then, so when people are saying to me they've had problems selling their properties with a short lease, that is the reason why, or
Yes.
part of the reason why?
Yes, part of the reason why. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Healy.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Maybe I should declare an interest, actually, because I bank with the Nationwide, but that's not my question at all. Talking to Tim the other day, of course, and Tim knows, I have quite a big interest in this because over 40 people with this problem actually in my division, and we've had that. So I truly believe that, with 40 odd people with this problem, I look at it with bated breath, actually, if I may. I'm waiting for Tim to come back to me, if he may.
What's the question, Mark? Sorry.
Well, no, the question, sorry, I do beg your pardon. Maybe I've not been a bit disingenuous there. I don't know. And I know Jill likes that particular word. No, with 40 people in my division being affected, what do I tell them in the future?
Well, hopefully this is good news because it gives them more scope. I mean, you've got 27 in Paula and I think is 13 in West Huntsville, who are, shared ownership properties that are, because of this reducing lease term on all of them, and also the mortgage protection clause, that if both of those, the ability to extend the lease term and if we adopt a mortgage protection clause, it will make life a lot easier for them if they want to sell on, if they want to move. And likewise, people in the locality who would like to acquire a shared ownership property and they meet the criteria, if they're local people, they meet the criteria, then it's easier for them to get the mortgage finance to buy into these properties. So it is win-win all round, really. It has been problematic for a number of recent sort of potential sales because of this, the restrictions. Because we don't have a sort of fit for the 21st century leasing arrangement.
If I may, through you, Duncan, and thank you for that, because that's what I've been, it's been posed to me that people have taken out, if you like, shared ownership, and when they've come to sell their property or try to sell the property, excuse the terminology I'm just about to use, they feel like they've been shafted.
Yeah, I don't think we can necessarily comment on that, except to say that, we have only got 68 properties with shared ownership. There are an awful lot more properties operated by other providers out there. And what we're doing here, I believe, is actually giving people the opportunity to maintain the value in their property and the ability to gain mortgages should they require them. And I think that can only be seen as a positive step. I don't know whether you've got any comments there, Mr. Mander.
No, other than agreeing with that summary, Leader, I think it is a positive. It will be a positive step, and hopefully it will make life easier for everyone concerned.
Thank you, Councillor Keane.
Right. Oh God, it's gone again. Oh, thank you. I fully agree this, because if it gives peace of mind to people who are already building their family home, one little difficulty that may come up, Tim mentioned that there's only one lender at the moment, that's Nationwide. Nationwide in the last week has announced that they are no longer going to support applicants who have had family, like mum and dad, Bank of Mum and Dad help to provide any part of their deposit. And that applies, they said it applies not only to an initial application for mortgage, but a remortgage as well. So this has to be extra good news for people who are in that situation.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yes, and it brings us in line with the 21st century. Hopefully. Any other comments or questions from anybody? Are we happy to?
If I may, Leader.
Yep, certainly. Councillor Gilling.
With reference to Councillor Keane's remark, I think she will find that the Nationwide are not the only lender that will impose those sorts of conditions. There are plenty else around the country that impose similar restraints on mortgage lending. So I'm accurate. So I'm informed by my conveyancer of a wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
very sad.
Right. Yeah. Right. Unfortunately, we can't solve that problem today, but what we can do is actually provide for the 68 buildings that we have under shared ownership. And the recommendation has been moved and seconded by me, and I'll now take the vote. Leader of Council Duncan McGuinty, yes, support the two recommendations. I've seen and heard the entire debate. Councillor Slocum.
Councillor Slocum, Deputy Leader, I fully support the two items on the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Caswell.
Yes, Leader, happy to support.
Thank you. Councillor Doddridge.
Yeah, very happy to support both recommendations, Leader.
Councillor Gilling.
Yes, Leader, as portfolio for housing, I can do nothing else but support this application, despite the fact that I felt that it was the wrong portfolio that was dealing with it. But that's my point of view.
Okay, Councillor Healy.
Yeah, how can I come back with that one, Councillor Andrew Gilling? No, I totally support what's going on. Totally support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Janet Keane.
Thank you. I have read the reports and heard the presentations, and I fully support the recommendation.
Right. And Steve?
Yes, Leader, carried unanimously.
Thank you. I'm not aware of anything else on the agenda, and therefore I thank you very much for your attendance today, and look forward to seeing you a bit later on. Thank you very much. Declare the meeting closed.
Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much,
you.
Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.